see yourself, right? Or see them. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 2025 first edition of Off the Hook with MattyD. And I can't start the new year without bringing in I will call him my co-anchor from this point, Mr. Simon Valencia. Good afternoon, Simone. How are you?
Hey, Matty, doing good, man. Super excited to start the new year with a lot of outdoors and fishing opportunities and, just kind of basking in what last year was, which was just so good. Last year was just incredible.
I follow on Instagram, of course, and so many do, right? And you talked about last year's red fishing was probably the best you've had yet. And I think it's a lot of things. One, you work super hard. We've talked about this, right? You give that client, the utmost of detail and explanation and then getting them into fish. But then secondly, you found fish when others didn't. And you found it's not like, oh, here's a fish. You're like, here's fish. And, right along the banks or wherever you were going. I remember our outing.
Yeah.
We came across, you're 200 yards. I was like, that's gold. That's a school. We got to get there. It was awesome.
Yeah, it's cool that I'm able to be out there so often to know where those fish are hanging out because they are fish and they
Right.
have plenty of places to go. But it makes it. I have the benefit of being out there so often that I get to pattern them, and it's a week here and a week there, but they stick around the same areas
Yep.
for a couple of weeks at a time, and it helps to be out there so often, and it helped that I was working so often that
Right.
I knew exactly where those fish were last year. So it was just an incredible year.
And it would help probably if I made some better weather at times rather than giving you those howling east to northeast winds.
Especially
My
the ones we've been having.
It's tough.
I've been wanting to get out lately because,
Right.
fishing gets tougher, but it doesn't end.
Right.
And I know you have that soundboard right around there where you turn out the wind.
Just make the wind happen, and right.
Yeah, or cloudy, choppy. I know you're throwing me
Miserable for
curveballs.
Simone.
Yeah.
That's the button I have. Miserable for Simone. I'll hit that now because I can't fish.
If I had the power, I'd throw me curveballs too. Seems like fun.
It's always good. It's always good. So first of all, I need to thank you because without you being my second in chair, my co-anchor, time and time again, and helping me organize guests like Reed, like Keegan, like so many others, it's really made Off the Hook with MattyD the show that it is. So thank you so much, and I hope we continue going forward, and I know we will.
Absolutely, it's a pleasure. Also, all of these people are, close friends of mine,
Right.
and
you've made them really good friends of mine. And thank you.
You're a good friend of mine, so
Right.
it's just cool to see the outdoors and conservation community come together, and honestly, to have this chair open for us to reach new people,
Yep.
because I do believe conservation happens in numbers, in people who are interested in being outdoors and conserving the species, and interacting with them. If people don't interact with striped bass, for example, they're not going to come out when regulation comes out for it, for conservation. So for me, it's crucial that people connect with their world.
Yep.
And protect it because they're connected with it.
And so, you mentioned striped bass, so we're going to talk about shad and striper fishing coming up in just a second because we're starting to get booking for that. But speaking of striped bass, there were some recent meetings about changing the slot limits and things like that. Can you briefly talk about what happened and where we're heading for 2025 and beyond?
Yeah, so they were speaking about putting forward a no targeting regulation for specific months in different areas.
Right.
The one that would have affected us would have been no targeting for the month of May or June. That did not pass.
Okay.
We can still target them. Sadly, with that conservation measure, that the no targeting conservation measure that I do not support, for the reason that I think that if we are targeting, we are also protecting.
Right.
With that went other conservation methods that.
Package deal that you believed in, but then the one I got it right.
Correct.
So, yeah.
But I mean, these fish definitely need
to be
help.
Right.
They need to be protected in many ways, and they have a lot of enemies, not personal enemies,
Right.
but they have a lot of fronts that are coming from them, whether it's commercial fisheries, recreational anglers, poaching.
Yeah.
And depletion of their food supply. They have a lot of
Things that are working against them that makes it tough for that species to grow and thrive at that point. Yeah.
So
you got it.
it is a migratory fish, and whatever measure they take in New Jersey also affects us, and whatever measure we take in Virginia affects them. So it's a very complicated regulation. Of striped bass fishery. It's not a simple one. So with it come and go good and bad things.
Yep.
So we can target them. Hopefully we restrict some of the recreational slot limits to protect the class that is currently in the. It's going to be just on the upper side of range, so maybe shifting the slot range down.
Okay.
Which is a class that reproduced in 2015 that is now, mature. And hopefully we get to protect those fish because we do have a chance at rebuilding the stock of those fish if that class is protected.
Because those fish then breed many fish and blah, blah, blah. I got it right.
Correct.
For sure.
Maybe, there's many things that could be done.
Sure.
I am not the authority on the science behind the conservation.
Sure. But you have a legitimate stake in the game because you bring people to those fish. It is a livelihood for you.
100%.
And you want to play by the rules, and you want to make sure those rules are played by for everybody so it's a fair level playing field.
Correct.
And at the same point, you want your clients and you to have a good time out there.
Correct, yeah. It's striking that balance, I think, and I think it's very doable.
Right.
I have opinions on what I would do, but
But you don't run the whole bass fishery. We get it.
It's
All right,
true.
Let's move off of the politics of thing. You good?
get choked up on it.
Okay, so hey, let's start off before we get into stripers and shad. Let's talk about some cool events you have coming up. I've brought the website up here, currentculturefly.com.
Yeah.
And so you have a lot of classes coming up. So I'll bring up the classes page, and then you have some things you want to expand on as well.
Yeah, so we have a ton of classes and social events coming up, more than are even listed on here, but these are the foreshores we're going with them. And in the immediate future, we of course have the Virginia Fly Fishing and Wine Festival that Bo Beasley, who you've had here as a guest, puts on every year, and it's a phenomenal festival. Tons of guides, tons of fly shops, fly tires. Biggest names in the industry do show up for it to give talks. So tons of educational groups. So it's going to be a really good time. That's going to be...
It's a different time this year. It's Thursday and it's Friday and Saturday. Right. So the 10th and 11th. Whereas the previous years it's been Saturday, Sunday. But you and Keegan are going to be there at the booth and
Reed
and
so yeah, we'll be there. Mike Rennie's going to be there.
Right.
Bo Beasley's going to be there. So a lot of the people who you've hosted here are going to be there. You won't be a stranger. You'll be among friends there. All of the other fly shops from Virginia, a lot of them do come and have awesome sales. So if you're looking for gear, it's a great way to get some.
And you can learn about the different fisheries. You can book different guides. I mean, you're going to be booking trips from spring all the way through fall coming up here.
And even winter.
Yeah.
We have a pretty strong winter program now. And we're going to be booking everything. The festival's a really great time for us. We know what our year is going to look like
Right.
after the festival.
Which is awesome. I mean, that's what you want to get out of that festival.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
And it's a phenomenal festival. We have a great time every time. Get to hang out with the biggest names in the industry, the lead educators and lead guides that really kind of shape what the fishery across the country looks like. So it's a cool event. So I'm excited about that. I will be tying flies on Thursday.
January 10th, Thursday.
The 9th.
The 9th, right.
Which is
a week from,
tomorrow?
to be tomorrow, correct.
Yeah, tomorrow. Today's the 8th?
Today's the 8th, yes.
So I will be tying flies at Triple Crossing Brewing. It's going to be pretty casual. If you want to come, bring your own vice. I am not bringing anything for anyone tomorrow. It's just going to be me tying flies and eating pizza.
So I've been to 2.
Yeah.
I think they're fantastic. You get a group of guys from expert tires to, I'll throw them right under the bus here, Ron Binstock, who's never tied a fly except on the salmon trip and with you, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, but that's what it's about. It's about to understand what a vice is, what a whip finishing tool is, how to use this, how to use a hackle plier. It's all of that. You know?
The future ones will also include a class portion.
Right.
So far, it's just like a social tying event, and people do help each other out, and we learn from each other, and it's great.
Where's my phone? Let me make sure I'm free tomorrow. I should be free because I'm going to make myself free. Oh, I'm not in town. That's all right. Don't worry about it.
Way it goes.
It's the way it goes. But it is a great event. So.
But yeah, those are a lot of fun, and then that basically gets us prepped for the fly fishing show,
Right.
and it's going to be a lot of fun.
You have a casting clinic coming up on the 18th.
That's
You've
right.
done this time and time again. Again, expert, intermediate, never touched a fly rod. Come on out.
Yeah, the class. I love these classes. They make fly fishing accessible, and that at the end of the day is a huge part of our mission. These classes are 2 hours. It's an hour worth of instruction and understanding and conceptualizing what a fly cast is. There is history in there for the arts and words inspired people, and there's physics in there for the
Very science oriented.
yeah. And I tried to make it so that everyone has something to grab onto and make sense out of a fly cast.
Right.
Which the fly cast on its own is a fascinating thing. And it's a huge reason of why I fly fish rather than spin fish.
Mm-hmm.
I do spin fish, but I fly fish a lot more, and it's because the cast is so much fun and it's so interesting, and it's so beautiful. It's like a dance. So it's an hour of me rambling about what a fly cast is and an hour of actual practice. You don't have to have your own rod. You don't have to have ever seen a fly rod before. If you saw it on TV once watching Walker Skate Chronicles in the 90s and you said, yeah, that's what I want to do that one day. I mean, it's $20 for 2 hours of instruction. And I think everybody who's ever has come out with a workable, fishable cast at the end of those 2 hours.
I think the important thing, the class size is 6. You keep it very manageable.
Yeah.
But you must RSVP. You can't just show up.
Can't just show up.
Right.
Yeah. You can RSVP via email. You can RSVP right there on Contact Us. You can call that phone number. My email's right there at the bottom. And as long as you're RSVP'd, you just show up and we get you learned.
Get you learned. Speaking of learning, this is the next one, February 1st and 2nd. So this is a 2-day class. This is the Beginners Fly Fisher Comprehensive Class. Let's talk about this because this is exactly how I got started. Mine was a 1-day class. It was stupid low cost of $25, okay?
That's a deal.
Right.
That's a steal.
But, I mean, this was back in 95, and, I mean, it was 3 hours of understanding fly fishing, right? And then on the lawn, and the last 2 hours after lunch, we were on the river, and, I mean, I might have caught a brookie that big or something. I don't know, but
was this up in New York?
It was on the West Canada. It was awesome. But, from that point on, 95, we're sitting here 2025 now.
It's a
30 days in, I'm in. I
Yeah.
mean, 30 years in, I'm in. So
It's a lifetime of learning, and it's a lifetime of fun,
Right.
and a lifetime, again, back to the conservation front of connecting with the world in a way that you otherwise wouldn't,
Yeah.
which I think is what's really special about this.
So tell us about this class.
The class is awesome. We have done these, I think this is probably our 12th or 13th. We do these with some regularity, a few a year. 4 hours Saturday, 4 hours Sunday. We cover everything to get you out on the water, and we focus on a species at a time. So we choose the species season specific. So the February one will focus a lot on striped bass and shad and how to fish for them downtown. Of course, it covers casting.
Yep.
It covers flies to use, building your own leaders or what to look for in a leader, the gear that you should be looking for, what's gear appropriate for this season and for other seasons, how to choose your gear moving forward, reading about safety. So being able to read flood charts and water flow charts, tide charts, how to find them, how to plan for them, how to fish through different tides, because we do have a 4-foot tidal change downtown.
Yeah.
And just because you're good right now doesn't mean you'll be good in 4 hours.
Me, who's on the jetty.
I've seen you out there on that rising tide, and I'm
you're
like,
like,
that's
wow.
a brave man.
No, I'm a brave guy. But I also know when to hightail it off too. I mean, I know how to read the chart pretty well.
I figured you might.
But yeah,
Nothing like a meteorology
out
degree
of the
to
water
get you there.
to get me.
But yeah, targeting tactics, safety, it covers everything, including a little bit of tying as well. It covers everything to make us feel good about going out on the water and finding success. These classes are great because they are specific to what is coming up immediately and prepare new anglers for the season that's right in front of us, while posing a lot of questions for the seasons to come.
Sure.
So the classes are great. They are geared towards first timers and beginners. They are definitely not like intermediate level classes or advanced classes, which we do offer, and we have offered. You came out to one
At Escataba.
which was
fantastic.
an intermediate to advanced level class.
Yeah.
And you made the comment some of the women who came out could really fish.
Could fish, I mean, like no tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like just, look, so if we want to talk about this, I mean, I'm the guy, I will drift without the indicator.
Yeah,
I just don't, I stare at the indicator too much. I fall asleep watching it. It's too, right?
Yeah.
They were dead on, indicator twitch up and locked,
Hook
right?
set.
I mean, yeah, awesome stuff.
It was
great.
an incredible day with Mike Rennie, which
Yeah.
who you've had here on the show, and
And he was great because, so I was able to take the class, but I wanted to fish. So 20 minutes before your class began, he goes, Matty, come with me. He was like, you might want to try here. And I'm like, I'm starting here. I'm walking my way down. He goes, that's an awesome plan. Yeah. And I mean, I fished like 9 different areas, loved everything about it.
it's a special place.
It was awesome. The worst part was I had to drive back to do the weather here. 20 minutes into the drive, I'm like, I ain't going to make it the whole way. Pulled off into a Pilot gas station for 30 minutes, and then I was good to go.
It's a long drive, but it's fishing Disney World.
It's so nice.
Escataba is a farm in around Covington, Virginia.
Yeah.
That has a ton of really nice trout.
Yeah.
It is managed incredibly well. The fish are not, they're not average stock fish. There's a lot of holdovers because it gets zero pressure through the summer. It's 2.5 miles of Dunlap Creek, plus 2 spring-fed ponds where those fish can just thrive. So it's a cool experience. We are offering that through the winter. So if you wanted to go out to Escataba, we are offering trips, not classes, but we're offering
So
trips
this is
there.
a contact Simone, and again, if you didn't know that, let me just bring that back up here. Go to contact us on the website, roll down either the phone number or right there's the email. Easy to get in touch with him.
Absolutely.
To book that. Let's
You
go.
can also request a trip on the bottom left.
Oh, request a trip on the bottom left. Look at that.
All the way down, there too,
Yeah.
but all
Yep.
the way to the bottom left. On every page on our website, you can request
Request a trip.
areas. And it'll show you our menu. So it'll show you a menu of what is currently going on and
Okay.
what we're booking for moving forward.
Moving forward.
So right now it's a lot of waterfowl
Yep.
with Keegan. And if you look down, we start getting into our spring, summer programs, as well as fall and casting lessons are also on there if you'd like to request a private one.
That's awesome. There you go. 2-hour casting lesson and all that. Excellent stuff.
So-
hey, go ahead. I don't want to cut you off.
No, but we do offer. So that's the beginner class. It's a lot of fun. 6 seats. Again, we're not trying to get a class of 12. We offer these often enough to where we prefer to keep those class sizes manageable. And if weather allows, there is a little bit of water time as well.
And I'll work on that part of it for you if the weather allows.
Please, Matty.
Okay.
I need a February 1st day in the low 60s.
Low 60s. Oh,
Yeah.
they don't be too specific now.
No, low 60s, warming trend 3 days before.
Okay, so fish are active. Like
Yeah,
maybe
that-
like a blue wing olive hatch or something.
That would be nice.
Okay, yeah, sure.
That would be really nice. Thanks, Matty.
Yep, no problem. All right.
I'll submit my request.
Yeah, please do. Request the trip, request the weather. That's what
Yes.
you need the box for. Okay, real quick here. Next thing we have is another group casting clinic.
February
Same
15th.
thing again that we had earlier in the month on January 18th. We're repeating it on February 15th.
Correct. And there will be a March one, and there will probably not be another one until the summer.
Gotcha.
So this gets updated often.
Right.
So do keep tabs on that calendar because there's always something coming up. We're always doing something.
And you also advertise it through the newsletter too. So join the newsletter and get the updates that way.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we send out a lot of emails. The newsletter has stuff that we don't publish. That is kind of specific for the people who do sign up for the newsletter, who is mostly our regulars, but everyone can sign up. So the newsletter gets updates more often than the website
Gotcha.
for events that are for subscribers.
Gotcha.
So that's that. And then after that, we're getting into that sweet striped bass season, and it's guiding nonstop, which takes us off the educational front a bit through the spring and summer, until the fall, where we have announced our most popular event, which is our inshore saltwater class. We published 2 dates.
So we got to, if you want to get in, you want to get in now
Sooner
because
than-
these will lock up really fast.
They do, yeah.
Yeah.
I just announced these this morning. I updated this site this morning, so these were just announced. They have filled up every time we've done them. It's a special day. It's a really special day. The numbers of fish caught are outstanding. We target all 3 species of the Chesapeake slam, striped bass, striper, and speckled trout, with guides who focus on each specifically. It's a 4-hour class, break for lunch, 4-hour guided trip after that.
I mean, how do you beat that?
It's hard to.
I mean, you get the education.
Yeah.
You're with a bunch of really good, dedicated anglers and guides.
Yeah.
And then you go out on their boats, and so if you're doing 8 and you have 4 guides, it's 1 guide for 2 people.
For 2
so
anglers.
you're really down. It is hands-on instruction when you're on that boat.
It is. I like to think of it as an education for the price of a half-day guided trip,
Yeah.
plus a half-day guided trip.
Yeah.
Which to me is like that's where the bang for the buck is. It's such a good deal. And I will say that every time we do these trips, everyone catches fish. Some catch many dozens. We had a kid, 17 years old, he went 2 hours straight, cast for cast, on speckled trout.
Jeez.
We were just laughing. I was like, "Do you want to catch another one? Like, does it matter how many have you caught?" He was just super good last year on the last one we did, and then we do focus on putting anglers who are focused on a species with the guide who guides for that species.
Gotcha.
So if you're interested in striped bass, mostly we'll try to put you with Reed and Keegan. If you're mostly interested in side casting reds, we'll try to put you with me. If you're more interested in blind casting for redfish, we'll put you with Keegan or Wayne. If you're interested in speckled trout, we'll put you with Wayne. And we try to place
Really
people on the right boat. But they're unreal classes. They're also focused on allowing people to go back to the place and wade, because we do them
nice.
out of places that are wadeable.
Yeah.
And we do them out of places that are very mild from a chop condition that can handle a bit of wind without blowing up, so that people can put in their kayaks and canoes and do well and get to fish. So
And I think that's really what you want as a client. Show me where I can go that I can safely go myself, because I might not have a 25-foot center console.
Right.
I might only have, a little paddle, raft. Or
Yeah.
me, I don't have anything. I want to be able, where can I walk in through the marsh and try to fish and that kind of a thing.
and
right.
the places that we do these out of are designed for that. One of them has a 2-mile trail adjacent to the water
That's perfect.
that you can
yeah.
just
walk the trail and fish.
and
which is
fish,
great.
and it's spectacular.
And again, those dates are October 19th and October 26th. We did skip over something here. It's happening once again, as you say, the annual Panfish Tournament. Let's just quickly talk about that. Then we got to get into stripers and all kinds of good stuff in
So
shad.
the Panfish Tournament has been such a great time for us the last few years. It's a no money,
Right?
no money to enter, no money prizes. It is pure fun. There are prizes, and the prizes, include guided trips, and in the past have been reels, fly boxes, with flies in them, not just the box.
Not just a box. Here's an empty box, kid.
Yeah, here's an empty box. Good luck. The prizes are always fun for us to come up with as well, but it's just something that we do just kind of to give back because of the support we get from everybody. The Panfish Tournament is in August. We look for the nastiest August weather we can get, the hottest possible weather we can get.
I got you covered.
I appreciate that. But yeah, panfish bite when it's real hot.
Yeah.
And in August, there's a slump for just about everything. It's our toughest month almost on every front, with the exception of last year, which August redfish was amazing. But usually there's a little bit of a slump. There because it gets real hot. And also people don't want to be out. So we were like, nah, we're going to get people out. We're going to party. The Panfish Tournament has to be seen as that. It's low consequence. If you did not win, you also didn't pay to enter. So it's of no consequence. It's a good day to get out and fish. It can be anywhere in Virginia. Entries are done through Instagram. So you just send us a picture of your fish with a certified
tape measure,
which is a ruler that we sign. But just to know that the size is correct.
Right.
And then we also award 3 biggest fish get awards, and smallest fish gets an award, which is usually a musky fly that is 6 times the size
of what the winning
whatever of the smallest fish. Last year, Ricky Tilson took largest at 11 inches for a panfish, and smallest at under 2. By the way, he was out as defending champion of smallest fish and went out looking for the smallest and got the biggest.
And he repeated.
Ricky Tilson's the panfish king.
That's fantastic. That is fantastic.
So that's going to be a lot of fun. The date will be announced a little bit closer to then.
Sure.
Once we get out of striped bass season, we'll be announcing it. But it is happening.
Okay. All right, again, all of these are under currentculturefly.com, under classes and events. You can see them all. Please make sure you contact Simone as soon as possible, either by his email or phone number here, and get into one of these, because I promise you they will book up, especially the classes and the educational aspect. All right, let's talk about what's coming up, because around the corner, Simone, is one of your favorite times of the year. Oh, the shads.
Fishing Christmas, man.
Yeah, I mean, like, you're out there and you're like, hold on, wait, I've got a video, double box video, and here he is, Simone, teaching you how to fish for shad. Watch him count here, folks.
I'm finding the depth at which they're at here. They consistently sit at around the same depth, schooled up. Here they were at about 7 feet deep, so I'm using a 7-inch per second line. I'm stripping hard and fast, allowing them a little break in between there every once in a while to catch up, and then it's like clockwork. And here it comes. There it is, and a nice long strip set. And then the fish begins to pull. It's a total blast.
It's so much fun, and I mean, I love this video because we could watch it without sound, and we understand exactly what to do, and that's because you can go out there and you can cast away, but if you're not at the right depth, you're way over them, and you're maybe one will come up and strike.
Yeah.
But you should be into dozens at a time.
Yeah, you wanna be. They're not feeding, right? They're not chasing things to feed. They're biting out of aggression because that thing came too close.
Yep.
So during their spawning run, that's how we're targeting them, with incredibly bright and smallish, about 1 inch to 1.5 inch flies. They pull hard. I love those fish. They're so much fun. This is this woman's first fish ever.
She's loving it. I mean, just see what it's about. And then weather might not be so great, as we know, in April, but as long as the water temperatures are right, those fish are all there.
And water temperature, I like it over 50. Mm-hmm. We've had some good days at 48, but over 50 is great. And then we keep fishing until it hits low 70s. Right. So it's a good window.
Because after that, once it's too warm, now we're stressing. Because at that point, our shad is done, the stripers are in, and now we're stressing them out way too much. Yeah.
Right. And it's not that they're not there, but it's
about conservation, back to what we initially talked about.
Correct.
Preservation of the fish.
Right. Yeah. We call it a season around mid-May to late May.
Right.
Depending on water temperatures, we in advance only book to about May 20th. Last year, we had a good year of water temperatures into June. The year before, May 23rd, we got on the water and it was 83-degree water, and we were like, we're bass fishing, we're not striper fishing. So it's a call that we make for the fish as an organization. We try not to. We handle so many of them. We try not to.
Right.
Needlessly kill them.
Correct.
So it's a matter of making those informed decisions. But the season's, it's fascinating, right? You have the big cows that move in real early in March that are impossible to get to eat a fly.
Because they've been in the river system for quite some time. They know what's going on.
They can be 25, 30 years old, and the water temperature is still really cold, and a lot of warm water fish are living there in a very sedentary state. Mm-hmm. It's an all-you-can-eat buffet for them, so they won't chase very much. You really have to kind of hit them on the head with a big fly. It's super hard to do.
Yeah.
So we don't really go out there for them that much. When mid-March hits, we start to get shad numbers. American and hickory and blueback herring, an alewife. This is an American. I was actually just on the phone with this man's wife today. She was surprising him with a trip.
That's fantastic. Well, we just ruined that now.
He knows.
Of course he does.
He has also been in contact. But yeah, we start seeing those fish earlier in the season. Is all about these shad. Dozens and dozens of fish a day, very beginner friendly. We are casting heavy sinking lines, but we don't have to cast them very far. So it's very very forgiving fishing simply because of how many fish there are. It's out that.
And you're guiding all ages here. You know,
All
this
ages, yeah.
young lady here, 12-ish, I'm guessing.
Hawk is 8.
8. Wow. So I was all yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, with her fish, with the fly rod, with Dad, having a fun time. The fish coming out of the water, the dance on the water.
Such a cool.
So cool.
They just jump and.
It's the tarpon of the James.
Yeah. Poor man's tarpon.
Yeah.
They got a mouth that looks like it. They fight. They pull. They run. They jump. This is average size for them, but when you're catching dozens a day, size isn't what you're after.
You're just having fun. I mean, that's really what it's about.
It's such a fun fishery.
So you said you're catching American shad in the James.
A few Americans.
Hickory's the predominant.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, back when 70s, 80s, we wiped out the Americans pretty much in the James.
And yeah, for longer than that too, because people are keeping them for the roe. When you keep fish for the roe, you're
killing the eggs.
Killing
It's
the eggs, so you're killing entire reproducing classes.
Right.
These fish have stream fidelity, so they come back to the same rivers they were born in. So not a lot of them come back up the James. There are much better American shad numbers on the York and the York system, Mattapanai, Pamunkey. There's better American numbers on the Potomac, but the tradition, the Richmond tradition, really, of eating shad roe for so many years did put a really bad hurt on the American shad. The James River Association gives report card for the state of the James every year.
Right.
The only thing that they have seen no improvement on is the population of American shad. So it's a very sobering and,
It's
critical,
disheartening.
and critical conservation story that tells us we need to be really careful with
what's coming in the James and what we're fishing for and what is around us. Again, back to the conservation conversation that we had. Yeah.
So that American shad was the only one we put on the boat that year out of a few thousand hickories.
Wow.
So it was.
It's a rarity.
It's a rarity,
and that's the sad thing. The shad fishing typically starts to wind down beginning-ish, mid-May. You always find some stragglers.
I've had really good days around May 20th, May 22nd, and after that, it just shuts off like a light switch.
It's pretty amazing.
They just decide, nah, it's time to go. And again, water temperature dependent, moon cycle dependent, but some years a little later. Last year was really early, right? By about the 10th of April.
Because we had no winter. We warmed up quickly. I remember you putting an Instagram live video out. You were like, I'm out here, and the water temperature is 53, and it's on.
It's on, yeah. And it was early. It was really early. That was my birthday, actually, March 8th, for everyone to remember.
Okay.
March 8th, my birthday.
I got it.
I went out on my birthday, and it was on.
It's amazing.
And usually I go out on my birthday as a birthday present to myself. I go out on my birthday to try to catch one, and that day was just absolutely on fire.
That's crazy. But so much fun, for sure.
So much fun. And then, early April, 10th of April, 5th to 8th, 10th of April, we start seeing numbers of schoolie stripers come in. That middle of April season is what books the fastest, which is almost fully booked.
Okay.
That middle overlapping season where you get striper and shad, that's almost fully booked. I think is going to fill at the festival this weekend.
Right.
So
you still have some dates open right now for that double window, so to speak.
Yeah.
But if you don't want to get locked out, website, call, email, let's go.
Immediately, yeah. Actually, this was one of those window fish. This was April 7th.
It's a beautiful striper.
Stunning striper.
Yeah.
This woman, Victoria, and her grandpa came out. Victoria's 15, one of the best anglers I've ever seen. She was 15 then. She's 17 or 18 now. Uh, she came out with Marvin, who is one of the coolest people on earth. They came out together, and we were shad fishing, and they were just shad after shad after shad. Cloud rolled in, and I was like, "You guys want a striper?" And she was like, "Yeah, absolutely."
So why the cloud rolling in made you think because
Low light.
Low light, right?
So stripers are low light feeders. They
Right.
come shallower when when it's overcast. And we made it up, and we put a cast in, and that fish just hit it immediately. I mean, it was probably her third or fourth cast with a big fly for stripers, and it was a highly spirited fish. It was a good sized fish, but
Right.
it was also highly spirited female. Look at that belly, just
Maybe
full
just
of
hanging
eggs.
down, right? Yeah.
And we got this picture and got her back in the water to lay her eggs. So
And you're still using the sinking lines here, so you didn't have to change gear because they're
fly.
all hanging the same. Yeah, just to fly.
and different places.
Right, for sure. Yeah.
They hang in different places. So there's places that are stronger for shad and some that are stronger for stripers. But sometimes you get a mix. It's just when there's that many shad
Right.
around, the stripers don't want to come near them, and when there's stripers around, the shad don't want to be near them. So they
Kind of do their own thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and they like different kinds of structure.
Gotcha.
But yeah, this is all downtown fish. We get into that April. This is not a downtown fish.
Right. I
Clearly.
knew this was coming up. Yeah.
But this kid is Davius. He's a really, really strong angler, and he's been out for shad and striper. He comes out with his dad, Michael, every year.
Didn't he do the slam last year?
He got a Chesapeake Slam before sunrise.
Yeah, I remember that
which
story.
was
Yeah.
just.
Right.
I mean,
Before sunrise.
Before
At that point,
sunrise.
I'm kicking back on the belt. I'm like, we're good.
well, what's funny is that we were out. I remember this day. I remember most of the days like
Right.
pretty well, but this day we got out early, and I was like, oh, we got a kid. Let's get out early, hit some dock lights. First thing, just specks and gray trout, and we're in a good bite, and I'm like, oh, it's gonna be good. We're good. Sun starts to come up, pull up to the marshes, to the flats, and we start seeing wakes. First cast at a wake, nice
the red
redfish on top water.
That's awesome.
And then I'm like, hey, put that same fly right at the bank on that point, and that 24-inch striper came out, and it just happened so fast. Then right after, I was like, oh, I know where the fish are at. Let's go over there. We pull over to where I thought there were going to be fish, and it's just dolphins everywhere. And I'm like, well, there were fish here. There's now just dolphins.
Right.
But I have a video of him at the bow with like 500 dolphins.
Just
like,
bouncing.
And that was special on its
Of
own.
course.
So Davy's great. But this was a good fish from this year.
Mm-hmm.
The Pauls come every year. Paul, this guy is the luckiest man I know.
Really?
Yeah. It just
Every time Broadbent City.
something. Yeah, he's good, but he's also lucky, and I'd rather be lucky than good. Paul he caught a 32 one year. Wow.
In the James downtown.
Yeah, and we were shad fishing, and he caught it on a shad dart, a 32, and then this last year we got out, and for about an hour straight, it was just fish after fish until the sun came up, and then this was the last one that he pulled up that morning, and it was just a really pretty fish.
Yeah. It's just great fish.
Just awesome early morning fish. This is more entering May, right? So May is when we get our numbers of stripers.
Right.
Late April into May is when we get our numbers of stripers, and then once the water gets too hot for our comfort to target them, we stop and switch over to the other programs we have going on,
Right.
which is Reed switches over to his bowfin and snakehead program. I switch over to redfish. Keegan switches over to gar and bass. Wayne switches over to cobia, and that's that late May cutoff. Everything else is now
You're starting to kick up, right? So
and it's better for the fish.
Right.
So
Great.
that's the season. I mean, it's solid 2 months of phenomenal fishing out your back door.
yeah.
Right, and that's the beauty of it is We start the trips at 5:30 a.m. and wrap them up at 9:30.
Because at that point, if the light's up, you're done, right?
Unless you give me nice cloudy days with low
Right.
clear water.
And so you know that if I'm standing on the jetties, it's going to be bright sunny at 7:01, and I'm dead in the water.
Yeah, I mean that's when I see you, I'm like,
Matty, what are you doing to me?
you threw me a curveball, man.
Yeah, of course I did, and I threw myself a curveball. Here I am, up there super early.
But this was just pre-storm.
You can see the clouds in the background there.
Rolling in. This was pre-storm, and we actually got pushed off the water this day because it started thundering. But the hour before the storm, these kids just
Going to town.
This is Oliver. Oliver is one of the best anglers I've ever seen. He's the 17-year-old that on the class just went for hours, speckled trout after speckled trout. He's part of the Benedictine Schools Conservation and hunting and fishing program.
Gotcha.
And they really focus on getting these kids in touch with
The surroundings, the conservation, and understanding, the environment is important.
Yeah.
We ruin that, we ruin it all. It's all done.
Exactly.
Right.
So
Yeah.
these kids are awesome, and Oliver is graduating this year, and I'm gonna be sad to see him go to college because having him on the boat has always been an incredible experience.
He'll be back. Remember, they're off in the summer, so he could be Redfish Central with you.
Yeah.
Right.
And same with these girls, Maddie and Sophie. They are from that program, from that school, and they come out and they're so respectful of the fish and of the water. You can see her hands are actually wet. Like you can actually see the care they take for these fish. So it's really nice to see the kids connect and understand.
We've seen this picture before. This is a rather large. So you said you don't get many large fish, but this is a pretty good size striper.
Yeah, that was on Keegan's boat. Cheris Porter is the man here. He's a regular angler. He loves to fish, and that day he got treated to a lovely fish. Apparently just smacked and ran into the rapids, and it just went.
That's unbelievable.
It just went, and that's a sizable, mid-30s fish.
Right.
And at that point, they do weigh, 15 pounds. So they're a sizable, hard-fighting fish. You can see he's wet.
Mm-hmm.
So again, that low light, gray weather condition is what
you're looking for.
What you're looking for. So we run these trips at between 5:30 and 9:30, and most people go to work from there.
Right.
And then we run at 5:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. And then most people have just come from work, which makes it so convenient. Most days of the week are
easy. You can end early or beginner, which is great.
You have a doctor's appointment with the doctor of the soul, which is fishing. That's the excuse to use at work.
So we've talked about this a couple of times, Simone, and let's kind of review. So when you're fishing for shad, you're using shad darts. When you're fishing for these clousers, bigger type of sinking, heavy-weighted flies, you're using sinking lines. What weight rods are we using for either fish?
So I like to use an 8-weight all around to guide. With the shad is mostly because it's really easy to throw some of these heavier sinking lines.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a 6-weight, you do need a full sinking line, and the full sinking lines that are available for 6-weights don't sink as fast usually. But you can get it done with a 6-weight, no problem. Heck, we've done it with a 3-weight. The fish are not leader shy, so you can crank down on them via line.
Right.
So you can put a heavy leader, but anything between a 6 and an 8 is ideal. If you're fishing midday, a 9 is not a bad idea for an even heavier sinking line to get really deep.
Because if there's a lot of bright, you want to get as down deep as possible.
Yeah, so they're going to be 20 feet down, and you're just kind of waiting to get down there. But I've had awesome days fishing deep. It's just that the fishing is better and more predictable when the fish are a little bit shallower.
Right.
Which is why we run those trips early morning and late evening. It's not that we won't fish middle of the day.
It's that you want the higher percentage because you want your clients to have a very good opportunity to get at the fish. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's the reason why we always, I have people call me and they're like, I want a full day. And I'm like, you really want a half day. I'll do the full day, but the half day you're gonna get more bang for your buck.
Do you do people doing dual halves? Book a morning, book an evening.
Sure. Yeah. I mean that does happen, but that's a long day for most people.
Well, sure, because you're up early. You now go to work. You leave work, come back.
Come back, yeah.
Or maybe you just go have a nice nap in the middle of the day.
Which is what I do.
Right, I'm
It's,
sure.
That season is we're getting up at 3:30
Right.
and not going to bed till 11, and it's a very
Short window, so midday naps work really well.
it's what we need.
For sure. Let's throw a couple more up here, too. Again, beautiful, just beautiful fish. And what's great is you keep saying it, these are right downtown. We're 5 minutes from where this river is.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get to.
It's so easy to get. That's what spoils you, is
Right.
how easy it is to get to this level of fishery for 2 months. And you just gotta make the best of it.
Yeah.
Not going because it's raining, or not, like, the only reason you shouldn't be out there is because
There's lightning and thunder happening.
and it's flooded,
right.
right? Like,
Yeah,
if-
please do not go, because springtime is a big issue. Not that we have snow melts, but we often get a lot of days where it is poured up in the mountains, and now 24 hours later, this river is just roaring.
and it's so dangerous.
So, yeah.
So, and this is what our classes get to, how to read the gauges specifically for the James,
Right.
and when to go and when not to go. And maybe there's other rivers within an hour that you could go and find success in, right? So we do post those as options in our classes.
Right.
So,
Which is,
but yeah, if the flow is over 6 feet, definitely don't use anything other than a motorboat.
Mm-hmm.
And if the flow is
even once it approaches 7, 8 feet, a lot of times it's so muddy, there's nothing you can do at that point.
yeah, I mean, at that point you just get lucky sometimes. We do tie some flies for muddy water.
Right.
In that 7 to 8 foot range, but after 8 feet, we just simply don't go.
Yeah.
That's over for us.
And a lot of times, too, there's so much debris coming down that river. And we're not just talking like small twigs.
No,
there
like
are trees rolling down that river. And trees and boats don't mix well, last I've heard. Yeah.
No, there's something about fiberglass impacting a 500-pound tree that
Does not win. Yeah.
doesn't bode well for
You
anybody.
don't want a mayday call from the middle of the James River. We talked about clousers and flies that you tie here. You do loop knots to give it a little bit more of an action in the water.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing about these fish. The setup is quite simple.
Mm-hmm.
Full sinking line, not intermediate, not sink tip. Full sinking line on an 8 weight
Mm-hmm.
with a 20-pound leader. And the leader only has to be about 5-6 feet long. And that's it.
Because, like you said, these fish are not leader shy. All they see is a fly. They're going and smacking it, and game on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they are very willing to chase, and so and it's the same setup that we use for shad. It was just a different fly.
Right.
Shad are a smaller fish. You can handle them on a slightly smaller rod.
Sure.
6, 7 weights. Stripers 8, 9 weights. But if I had to have one,
Just all around, you're going.
it would
8
just be an
weight.
8.
Yeah.
An 8, and the videos of those rods bent over, those are 8 weights
Those are
on
all-
shad, and they still bend good, and you still feel that fight. This is a 9 on a striper. This is a 9 weight on a striper.
I mean, I know exactly where this is because I've been on the James enough.
Yeah.
I mean, it's accessible by boat. It's not accessible for me. I can get to some little areas around it, but not fully.
So in May we had some low flows,
Right, and you could
and we were actually able to get
walk
out.
into-
yeah, which was a lot of fun.
Which is for sure.
But yeah, that's a 9 weight, so no need to go super light. Also, beefing up your setup makes the fight end at a reasonable time and keeps those fish
Fresh and
energized.
able to go back there again. And here you are again talking about it. I'm going to bring up one last thing here. This is a number to get in touch with Simone, Reed, Keegan,
Wayne.
Wayne. one number does it all, depending on what you want to do.
Yeah.
That QR code that I put up there, if you're watching this on a desktop, scan that. That takes you right to the book, the guide page. And of course, you can always just go right to their website at currentculturefly.com. Click on the contact us, and there's everything. Remember, their store is closed, so we'll have to remove that. But the number's there. Request a trip. Join the newsletter. Email Simone. What have I forgotten?
Come out to classes.
Yeah.
Come out to social events. Come eat pizza and Thai flies.
Let me put that back up there. Classes and events. We have, of course, January 10th and 11th is the Virginia Fly Fishing and Wine Festival. They will have a booth there. Book your trips. Tomorrow night is fly tying at Triple Crossings Fulton. Pizza, fly tying, have fun, kick back with a beer or two. Group casting clinic, beginners comprehensive, another group casting. Don't forget about the panfish tournament, the on-site inshore saltwater class. Book
And
your
more.
redfish
Yeah.
and more, and hook them up for escataba. I mean,
There's tons of stuff going on.
so much.
Let's cure those winter blues and get out, catch some trout.
Simone, once again, without you, I truly mean this. This show would not be what it is
It's
because
a
you've helped
pleasure,
me out.
Matty.
It's
I
been
really
so much fun.
appreciate you having me here.
Yeah, every time. So we'll have you back, as you know. We'll have Keegan, we'll have Reed, we'll have everybody, Matt and all. All right, so this has been Off the Hook with MattyD. Thank you so much for joining us. And remember, fly tying tomorrow night, Triple Crossing, Fulton, have pizza and Thai flies. Guys, for another episode of Off the Hook with MattyD.